Welcome back. I'm talking to Carl James about his research into the background of Stanley Kubrick, who many people say was used to film the hoaxed moon landings, which were actually possibly filmed on Earth. Now, one of the most important things in your research, Carl, was to try and discover the first reference to Stanley Kubrick being involved in the moon hoaxes.
Or allegedly being involved.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
And various stuff was put out in the 1990s to suggest that this sort of idea came around in the 1990s.
Yeah, it's just new at that point, yeah.
But tell us what you've discovered.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I actually fell for to some degree as well. You know, I needed to do a lot more research and find out. But basically, what I call a limited hangout, effectively. It's a bit like sort of 9/11 and ufology, that sort of. You have these limited hangout, and they're pushing this time frame that it's there in the 1990s.
Because there was a documentary made called The Dark Side of the Moon, which you call a mockumentary.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that.
It had all of these important people in it, like Kissinger and Donald Rumsfeld and a whole load of others, and even Kubrick's own ex-wife or widow. So just give us a quick summary of that, because a lot of people they'll watch that on YouTube and they'll see the flaws in it and they'll go, well, yeah, he didn't really do it, did he?
No,
or there's confusion over it.
Yeah,
so
it can mislead people in any number of ways. I mean, you can look at it and say, well, this is just so ridiculous. It is obvious that it's faked. I mean, you only have to look at the people involved in it. I mean, certainly at least 7 of the people that are alleged, and they're actually the only ones that mention Kubrick in it. They're all actors playing characters, and it's not hard to see that. I mean, the giveaways, they're in the names. I mean, one of the alleged whistleblowers in it is called Dave Bowman, which is the name of the character from 2001, the commander of the ship, and Dmitri Muffley, Dmitri is and Muffley, the respective leaders of the US and Russia in Dr. Strangelove. You know, Jack Torrance is the name of Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining. So these are the people that they're saying that these are these people. You know,
but this isn't a low-budget documentary, is it?
No. I mean, it was produced for
This is like a mainstream documentary that's got obviously a lot of research in it and a lot of preparation.
Yeah. It was Franco-German TV network, RT, not Russian RT, ARTE, 2002, called Operation Loon. So it went out on a fairly mainstream channel in France. And it's,
in that film, although they weren't directly referring to Kubrick, they've been taken out of context. You've got Rumsfeld and Kissinger.
Yeah.
They've not actually complained of the been in that.
No, they haven't. No. I mean, the source for it is not widely known, but I have been able to track it down.
What you did was you've compared another documentary with several of the people in that documentary and proved that they've stolen footage from another documentary.
I've compared the two. I haven't been able to sync up the exact sections that they're talking, but you only have to look at it. They're wearing the same clothes, the same room that they're sitting in, same hairstyle, same background, everything, same lighting, and they're talking about political leaders.
So what they've done, they've picked up what was left on the cutting room floor from one documentary.
But it was directed by William Carroll, the same chap who directed.
Right. Okay.
So he's used his own material previously. You know.
Yeah.
But again, like you say, they never objected to it. They didn't seem to care about the fact that this footage had been reused.
And let's be clear, that documentary is trying to assert that Kubrick was involved. But doing it in a completely debunkable way.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Why would they need to do that?
Yeah. And then for credibility as well, they bring on Christiane Kubrick, his widow, Jan Harlan, his brother-in-law as well. And they're talking about, I mean, they don't say too much, but they do, you know. But then there's this article afterwards called More Than a Hoax by Henry M. Taylor. And she apparently said she did it just good fun.
Right, yeah, like you do.
So, I mean...
Like your dead husband, you're going to make a fake documentary saying that he faked the moon missions and I just did it for good fun.
Yeah. I mean, certainly you could argue, play devil's advocate on this one. At the time, there was some retroactive sort of look at Kubrick. The estate, the family, they were trying to paint him. He was a very sort of surly character. He was apparently a very loving person as well, you know, but he pissed a lot of people, say that, he pissed a lot of people off, basically, you know, and he was very temperamental. He had some very bizarre behaviour sometimes, and I think they wanted to sort of redress that in the public eye, make him look like this gentle giant, you know, so maybe they were trying to do it in that regard, but, you know. Before
we tell the viewers when was the first time someone has suggested Kubrick was involved, let's just discuss this clip from Alexei Leonov, who was a Russian cosmonaut. Tell us about that.
Yeah, basically he was interviewed in 2009 on RT News, which is a questionable source anyway for that one. He talks about the official story of NASA. He's poo-pooing anybody that questions it whatsoever. Then all of a sudden, he starts discussing the claim that Kubrick was involved in Apollo fakery. I'll just play you this clip.
The United States are often accused of not actually going to the moon and faking the images from there. What's your take on that?
The rumour started when Kubrick's wife commented on her husband's work. She said that it was very difficult to make the film about Americans landing on the moon. Well, it is understandable. There are 2 ships left on Earth. One is at the Smithsonian Museum. It is not allowed to even take pictures there because the displays there are extremely valuable. And the second ship, the exact copy, is in Hollywood. So he did some of the shots there, things like landing, opening of the hatch, because otherwise viewers would not get the whole picture. So that's how the rumour about the landing on the moon footage being fake started. 2 people even went to prison for false witness.
So a Russian cosmonaut is actually saying, no, Kubrick didn't fake the moon landings, or he did a little bit of work on it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, he sort of does actually. I mean, but basically what he says, and he speaks in Russian, but I've confirmed that he is saying what the translator is saying. He said that Kubrick utilised an exact copy of the LEM located in Hollywood, did some of the shots there, things like landing, opening the hatch, because otherwise viewers would not get the whole picture. And at the end of it, he talks about these 2 people who are going to prison for bearing false witness. I've never heard that story. I don't know.
So NASA go around telling Russian cosmonauts about how they faked or they faked their photographs. Well, what this cosmonaut is saying.
I don't know how he got hold of the story, but
well, there's no other mention of it anywhere.
No. And that's the strange thing, is because he's been around for 5 years. I've not ever read any of his official biography or anybody speculating about his life. And funnily enough, moon hoax researchers don't really talk about it either. It's been there, so I don't.
But RT want to talk about it.
Well, yeah, I mean they're limited hangout as well, I would say. So.
Right, yeah. Julian Assange and all the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so when was the first time somebody suggested Kubrick may have been involved?
I've got it down now to about a year after Apollo 11, 1970. In black and white in my hands, not physically here in my hands now, but I have in possession an original 1976 copy of Bill Casey's book, We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion Swindle. And I'll just read you a short section. So page 28, he says, while 2001 was being filmed, Kubrick and his crew consulted with nearly 70 industrial and aerospace corporations, universities and observatories, weather bureaus, laboratories, blah, blah, blah. Had this been done for the Apollo space program without the cover of 2001, much speculation would have been directed towards the making of these inquiries. Another aspect of the release of 2001 in 1968 is this. The film prepared the American people for filmed versions of space exploration. It would be a simple transition from a huge manned orbiting lab gyrating to the strains of the Blue Danube, as in the film, to a prosaic view of 2 men taking a stroll on the moon. That's 1976. And I've also been able to prove now that he was researching and doing radio interviews in 1970 that he was discussing this. So this is a year after Apollo 11 that he's a possibility of a connection. He's not saying.
Right, and do you know what his sources were? Do you know? Or?
I know that he worked for Rocketdyne, a division of North American Aviation, and later for Rockwell International between 1956 and 1963, where the Saturn V rockets engines were built. And he was also a head of technical publications for the company, so maybe that was where he got his.
The other information that was trying to say that these theories only came out in the 1990s.
That can be debunked there at that point. Yeah.
Right. So it's difficult to understand why mockumentaries, as you describe them, or other information, which is poisoned information, if you like, is put out about Kubrick.
Yeah. And why they would want to create
to do
a specific time frame for it as well. I mean, I've got my theories that it's based on roughly the timing of when the internet became publicly available, ISPs and that available to the public, so you've got an easier way of spreading disinformation than at that point. Maybe it's the timing of that, but I don't know.
Right, it's time for a break now, and after the break we're going to talk about one of Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut.